Buckle up, A's and baseball fans. Today's crossover with Sully is gonna get real. And it's not just about the A's, but the whole damn game. Today, in a crossover show between Locked On A's and Locked On MLB.
You are Locked On MLB Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Booney. One name, all passion, zero sugarcoating. I've been riding with this franchise since Ricky terrorized the base pass and the Bash Brothers made pitchers wish they had taken up accounting. This isn't just a podcast. It's a no BS clubhouse for A's fans. We cover it all. Vegas, Sacramento, wherever the green and gold takes the field. And we do it loud. We do it loyal, and we are unfiltered. Do me a favor and hit that subscribe button wherever you are following the show. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. We got a special guest for you today. That is right, Paul Francis Sullivan, better known as Sully, the host of Locked On MLB and the man who's been keeping baseball fans entertained with his insight, history, and sharp humor for years. While Sully and I might not always see eye to eye when it comes to the A's, that's part of the fun. Disagreement doesn't mean disrespect, and there's no denying the impact his podcast has had. He's one of the best in the business when it comes to blending knowledge with a little bit of attitude and plenty of laughs. For that, I've been listening to him for years. And today, we are diving into some heavy baseball talk today with the first segment focused on Sully's journey with baseball and his passion for the Red Sox. Of course, we can't talk about the A's without making some A's-related connections, which we will do. From there, we will tackle a topic that's near and dear to my heart, how the A's are viewed in the wider landscape of baseball history. Are they unfairly portrayed as a losing franchise? Or have they simply fallen victim to misperception? We will explore how the A's have been viewed over the decades, whether it's the last 10 years, 20 years, or 30, and whether their legacy has been overshadowed by the narrative. And in the final segment, we will dig into a broader baseball discussion, how the game has changed, or maybe how our perception of it has changed as we have gotten older. Growing up, baseball felt like a different animal, but has it evolved, or have we just aged out of the simplicity we once saw? And also, hey, don't be surprised if we veer off script a little. After all, I'm not exactly one for sticking to the rules. So sit back and join us for a fun, insightful, and occasionally unpredictable episode with Sully on today's Locked On A's and Locked On MLB crossover. Sully, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm good. It's the AllStar Break. I'm ready to go. And this is I actually enjoy this. You get the All-Star game and the home run derby, and you have a little bit of time to sort of reflect on what's happening in the season so far. And then once the games get back at the end of the week, it's really like it's that great part of the year where like you basically have a couple weeks before the trade deadline.
Yes.
And, you know, when people say it's too early to say this, too early to say that, no, you got to make some decisions right now.
Sure.
And there's some teams that have to make some decisions right now. So from the All-Star break to the basically to the trade deadline is one of my favorite parts of the year. I think there's a lot of excitement in that period of time. So I'm loving it. I'm loving it. It's baseball. It's your, this is the time of the year we have our companion in the middle of January and February. when we don't have baseball, I start to feel all itchy, and so this is what we got itchy. I can get that itch scratched now.
You're big Red Sox fan. They've made a move since they've traded Devers away. Question for you.
Yeah.
Are you now? I think most people that listen to you, they see, hey, you're covering all the MLB, you cover all the teams, you talk about everybody, while every single person with a team has that fandom they show. Do you still have that passion when you watch the Sox, or has it changed over the years?
It's changed a little bit. First of all, I haven't lived in Massachusetts for a long time, but especially since I've been doing this show, yes, who's my team? I always answer the same way. I say I'm a native New Englander who grew up a huge Red Sox fan, and that's how I answer it. But I have become a Major League Baseball fan first and foremost. I live in California. I'm probably never going to move back to the East Coast. It's different since I've seen my team win the World Series 4 times.
Okay.
We've gone from I just want to see this happen once in my life to okay, which one of the 4 times I've seen him win it all doesn't get to stand on the medal stand?
Sure.
It's a very different animal, and I mainly at this point, yes, like the Red Sox are on a 10-game winning streak, especially after they traded Devers for a flat can of Sprite and a VHS copy of The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. I looked up and I said, wow, they're actually, they've climbed back into contention. And I find that to be a lot of fun. But I'll tell you what, I mainly am rooting for good baseball. Okay. I want to see exciting pennant races. And if there's anything that I root for, it's anarchy. I like anarchy. And like last year, we got anarchy last year when the season ended and you had to have that doubleheader after the final day of the season in order to Mets Braves and with the Diamondbacks looking on the wings.
Oh God,
because there was a combination that would have eliminated one of those 2 teams and put the Diamondbacks in the playoffs. And so and the fact that they had to do that at the end of the season, play a doubleheader in order to see which one of these 3 teams will get the final 2 slots, that's anarchy. That's what, like, anarchy in the standings. I like anarchy on the field, like what happened the other day when the Giants were losing and Bailey hit what looked like it was a 3-run. It looked like it was going to be a 3-run walk-off home run, and instead it hit the corner of the wall at Oracle Park and ricocheted away. I don't remember who the Philadelphia center fielder. I'm just going to say it was Baker McBride, and it rolled like almost the way to left field. And Patrick Bailey, a catcher, hit an inside the park 3-run home run. That's anarchy. I like anarchy. And that's why I like things like, I like errors. I like bunt plays that go wrong. I like inside the park home runs. I like throwing the ball to the wrong base I like it when things happen that break up the predictability of baseball. And I like a ball in play and it falls in the wrong spot. That's one of my favorite things to happen in the game. Or a line drive, so someone catches it and someone's off base and suddenly you have an unassisted double play. I love it when it becomes wild and weird. And so while obviously as someone who's born in Connecticut and did most of my growing up in Massachusetts, I'm pulling for the Red Sox. I would rather, this almost sounds sacrilege, but I would rather just see a great World Series. I would rather see a great moment, and what I really loved, and we've seen this happen a bunch of times over the last few years, and actually the last couple of decades, is that generational moment. Obviously, for Red Sox fans, it was 2004. For White Sox fans, it was 2005. For Philadelphia Phillies fans, it was 2008. And then, I'm here in the Bay Area right now when the Giants finally won in 2010. And you saw, Washington winning, Houston winning, the one we don't mention, and Houston one that they do mention, the Rangers winning a World Series for the first time in their history. Kansas City winning for the first time in their history that was not aided by Don Denkinger. We see these moments where the fans look around and go like, I never thought I'd see this happen. And those moments, as an observer of baseball, and because I remember what 04 felt like for me, those moments are so special. Like when Bryce Patrick of Locked On Rangers, I remember contacting him the day after the Rangers won the World Series. That was hardly a classic World Series when Texas beat Arizona.
Yeah.
However, for him, that was the moment he was waiting his whole life for.
Sure.
And so those, and I also love last year's World Series was not a great World Series. By definition, no 5-game World Series is a great World Series. But you had the Freddie Freeman home run, and you had the wild 5-run rally to tie it. I like moments like that are going to stick out over time. We're going to remember that. This is an all-time moment. And actually, one of my favorite endings of the World Series game was during the COVID year, and there was a wild play where the Dodgers were a strike away from winning. The Rays had Phillips, I think his name was, I could be wrong, hit a flare that scored 1 run, and it was misplayed, and they threw it home, and Rosarena tripped, and he fell on his face trying to score the winning run, but the run got away from the ball got away from the catcher, so Rosarena got up and kind of crawled and slapped his hand on home plate for the win. That a moment like those are the moments I live for. Just craziness and generational moments. So doing my show, I'm unabashedly not a Yankee fan. And there's some other teams that I also unabashedly don't root for. And there's some teams that I do pull for, but I mainly just want to see great baseball. I think that's all I want.
Speaking about winning and baseball and legacies and so forth, I want to talk about the A's legacy. Are they a team that is misunderstood? When they look back in history, are they given a fair judgment or not? Up next. We have all been there, staring at the clock, desperately waiting for A's tickets to drop, only to watch your chance slip away right before the big game. The A's are about more than frustration. They are about creating memories, and that's where Game Time steps in to take the stress out of your ticket buying experience. Game Time's got your back when it comes to last-minute deals, with prices dropping as the game gets closer. You can save up to 60% off on those killer seats. Forget scrolling endlessly. Game Time zone deals. Choose the best seats in your section for you. So if you are tired of missing out, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Game Time. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Sully, 72-74. A's won 3 in a row. Obviously, we know about the teams in the 80s and their success in the 90s, and obviously a lull in the 90s. Ownership changed. Fischer, Wolf took over, and the A's were probably fairly judged as far as a team that did not pay. They didn't pay. That's not anything that was unfairly judged, but they won. 11 times since 2000, they have made the postseason, 7th in all of baseball. Haven't been successful in the postseason, but it's hard to win in the postseason. But when you look at the legacy of the A's, if I was to, every person I take and talk to and say, hey, A's are 7th in all of baseball in postseason appearances since 2000s, they're shocked. Yeah. When you look back at the A's legacy, even obviously, everyone knows the Bash brothers in the late 80s and the Bay Bridge series and the Gibson home run and what they did then. And of course, we know the triplets in 72, 73, 74. But since 2000, basically since Mount Davis, they have been looked at an organization that loses. To me, that isn't fair. What is their legacy, and is that portrayal accurate of them? And is it a fair portrayal?
I think that you can go back further than that. I think you can go back to Philadelphia. The A's the legacy of the A's is there's one of the reasons why I'm been fascinated by the A's over the years is they are the strangest franchise in baseball history. No team is stranger than them. They have had pockets of unbelievable success going back to the 1900s under Connie Mack.
Right.
They've also had pockets of jaw-dropping, I don't want to say incompetence, dysfunction is the correct word. At one point, Connie Mack was in his mid to late 70s and clearly could no longer manage. And so the A's realized it was time for him to go. We'll just give him 2 more decades. And under him, where he was as senile as you could be, the team fell apart because his sons, Fredo and Bozo, were running the team. They wouldn't sell the club. And you went that region between their great success they won pennants in the 1900s, 1910s, 1920s, and 1930s, winning multiple championships. But then they would not let the old man retire because that would mean them getting rid. It was like King Lear if Lear was senile. And eventually there was a weird period of time where the A's were worse than the Phillies, and that was right around the time teams started abandoning their cities. Off they went to Kansas City. If the Mack sons sold the team off and told Pop to retire, the A's would still be in Philadelphia, and the Phillies would have moved somewhere else. But that being said, they went to Kansas City, and they produced many, many great players. And the nanosecond any of those players had any worth, they were traded to the Yankees instantly. And part of the reason of that was the owner of the A's was named Arnold Johnson. He owned the A's. He also owned Yankee Stadium. And it was in his best interest to see the Yankees turnstiles going. So if anyone was good, and one of the biggest ones was Roger Maris, but anyone who was a good A would go to the Yankees, and anyone broke it down the Yankees would come to the A's. They were a farm team. And that ended when Charlie Finley took over the team.
Sure.
And he developed the team and kept the players, but wanted to move the team anywhere in creation. He landed in Oakland. And the fruits of his labor was the greatest run by any team not called the New York Yankees, when they won 5 straight division titles, 3 straight World Series champions, and were miserable the whole time. And he was super cheap, and he was a bit of a bastard. And ultimately, he didn't want to pay the players come free agency, and actually made some smart moves, but was forced out of the game. The Haas family, without no doubt, the greatest owners the A's ever had. Not even close. And I'm throwing Connie Mack into that. Yeah. They were well run. They had a great farm team. They won early with Billy Martin. They had the foresight to bring in La Russa. Fantastic. Now, part of the reputation, I think, over the years, and certainly in the 2000s, the A's management has been off the charts great. The A's ownership has been grotesque. And I think the fact that the idea that they seem like losers comes twofold. First of all, the fact that the nanosecond any A's player asks more than $4.75 per hour, they're traded. And you can take that back to the days of Connie Mack, but it's ridiculous how they just break up the teams. They had wonderful teams in the early 2000s. And we all saw the Brad Pitt film, which was a work of fiction. There's a lot of things in that film are like, really?
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of like they won because Scott Hatterberg was taking walks, or did they win because they had Mulder, Zito, Hudson, and Miguel Tejada?
Yeah.
Miguel Tejada is mentioned as often as I am in that film, and he won the MVP that year.
Yeah, right.
You know, that may have been a bigger reason. Yeah. Mulder, Zito, and Hudson may have been a bigger reason than Scott Hatterberg taking a walk. And Chad Bradford throwing sidearm. I could be wrong.
Right.
I could be wrong. Having 60% of your rotation be Cy Young contenders may have been the reason. Yeah. But then even then, they break the team up. Now, and then, of course, they have the great run. One of the most fun A's teams ever was the 2012 team.
100%.
Unbelievably.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And those 3 straight years, 2012, 2013, 2014. Incredibly likable team, fun, broke them up. They had a great run in, 2018 or 2017, 2018, 2019, right? No, it was 20.
Yeah, correct. 2018,
yeah,
2019. 2020 was a hell of a team too.
And actually. 2020, yes. And then the COVID year, right up until Marcus Semien hit those grand slams against the A's in Toronto in 2021, they were going another term. But then they broke those teams up. And you see the A's players scattered to the wind like dandelion seeds and playing well for other ball clubs. That reflects poorly on the A's. Not poorly on the A's management. Clearly, they're scouting and drafting very, very well. Thank you very much. But if they're not staying there, then yeah, it creates the impression of what was happening when they were in Kansas City, which was they'll develop players and give them to contenders. And it doesn't help matters that when Fischer, they had the big contract that was set out for Eric Chavez, which I think was in 2004, 2005.
It was, yeah, 6 years, I think.
Right. And they don't shell out another contract like that again until Luis Severino last November, right?
That's correct.
Which just by a complete coincidence was the ownership of John Fischer.
Correct.
Not that there's any connection. And he had two pockets of really terrific players and made no effort to keep them together. Zero effort to keep them together. None. And that's why I say the organization, the management of the organization is excellent. The ownership is just a travesty. And if they could force out McCourt to be the owner of the Dodgers when he ran the Dodgers into the ground in the early 2010s, and they brought in the new ownership, and we see how well things are going there. I do not see a valid reason why Fischer, who has driven this team into the ground to the point where they don't have a home, they don't even have a city anymore. And
was that
he let
Fischer's
the stadium,
fault
he let the, and that's it's what?
What was it all Fischer's fault? They're not playing.
Yes.
How?
It's 100%. Well, this is not an opinion. This is a fact. John Fischer is a grotesquely horrible and arguably the worst owner in the history of professional sports. It's not. This is not hyperbole. This is just a fact. And John Fischer has not been forthright. He's put no money in the team. He let the team decay. He broke up the team over and over again, raised the ticket prices. And why aren't people coming? The fact that the number of people were coming there is a miracle. And now he has a team playing in a minor league ballpark that we're not allowed to mention. We're not allowed to say, do not say the name of the team. And they're going to play there for at least 5 years. At least 5 years. Maybe more. And good luck keeping this team together. Good luck signing anybody. Play in a minor league park for 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029. How are they going to be drawing in 2029? And how much money did he spend on the team? They spent on Butler once. He made no effort to keep people like Olsen. He had no effort to keep people that great run that they had in the late 2010s. Why? But he takes all the revenue sharing. He pockets all of that. And the only reason he signed Severino, the only reason he signed Rooker, the only reason he signed Lawrence Butler was because he wouldn't get the free money. He didn't spend money on his payroll this year. He got it so he can get the rebate, so he can get the revenue sharing. Rooker's going to be traded next year. Butler's going to be traded next year. The whole team's going to be traded next year. And there is no way Severino's going to play on the team. But yeah, we all know Butler and Rooker are gone. They are gone. Say goodbye to them. They're traded.
How are they gone when they're signed through 2030?
There's a thing called trading a player.
I know. Why would they trade the player when they just signed into the extension? Just because of revenue sharing?
Yes. Why else did they do it?
Okay. Severino, I agree. There's
a better chance that Vida Blue will pitch on the team in 2026 than Brent Rooker will be there.
Oh, come on.
What do you mean? Come on. Oh, that's right. There's one thing that John Fischer is great at is keeping his teams together and not skimping on money. And then we have the Vegas fiasco.
Let's talk about that. What fiasco are you guys making up here? I want to talk about that. Everything you guys talk about is based on
you guys.
Look, it is
the people who are looking at this situation with any sort of clarity. They built a sandbox a couple weeks ago and they dug shovels in there. Are they building anything in Las Vegas right now?
Absolutely. They're building stuff. They're grading the ground. They've started the construction. What are you?
No, sorry, Booney. I know you're kidding. I'm going to ask it again, though. I want you to be serious.
Hang on a second.
Are they building anything in Las Vegas?
Your narrative for 2 years, year and a half, has been wrong, time in and time out.
One thing I've said wrong. Tell me one thing I've said wrong. One thing. I will Venmo you. I will Venmo you $50 right now if you can tell me one thing I've said wrong about this situation.
They have the money.
I got my Venmo right here. And my Venmo right here. What have I said?
Fischer has the money. Do you want me to break down where he's getting the money? How he has the money?
Yes. Oh, wait. Hold on. This is breaking news because this has not been reported until right now. Where is the money?
You do realize he got approved by the bank, right? That's a big deal. That is a big deal. The banks looked over every financial from him. $380 million from the state of Nevada. $300 million from U.S. Bank and Goldman Sachs.
Okay, where's the rest coming from?
That he could cash out tomorrow from Gap Stock. Okay.
Has he done that?
$200 million from Airmark.
We're still far. We're still way short.
And we haven't even got that. And that's the only things we know about John Fischer and family.
I'm right.
The brothers.
So I'm right.
What are you talking about?
You're right. He doesn't have the money.
It was his family. From the very beginning, it was his family. We're not even counting the earthquake sale. Let's say he gets $400 million from the earthquake.
Let's say. Wait. What fact starts with let's say?
We're $250 million short then. So
yes. So we're right. So we're right.
$250 million. You don't think the brothers could write tomorrow a check for $250 million?
Oh, will he? Is that what he's done?
They're in it. That's all we know that for sure that he has. This deal is done.
So we've agreed. So Booney, we agree that he doesn't have the money.
No, absolutely. So how come the narrative's like that? I just broke down every single nickel.
No, you didn't. You didn't.
Let's break this down.
If he does this, no fact begins with if.
Oh my God. This is where he had. So you're saying he has the money, but is not willing to.
I say he doesn't have the money. Here's the second question. Here's the second question. How much does the stadium cost now?
$2 billion.
And where do you know? How do you know that? Why are other construction jobs?
How much do you say? How much do you say it cost?
Booney, can I finish a sentence when you keep saying I'm wrong and I've been 100% right on everything about this?
Right. Not one time.
Right. I will Venmo you $50 if you tell me one thing I've said wrong. He doesn't have the money.
The only thing you said right is the Athletics not using Sacramento. That's the name. That's it. That's all you've been right about.
The weird world you're living in. We're already saying if he gets the earthquake deal. So how much did he sell the earthquakes for?
He has it listed for $400 million, but he doesn't need that money. We haven't used his brother's monies yet or anything like that. He said he's bringing in the whole family.
Oh yeah, okay, cool. So that's in escrow. We have that in the bank.
He has $850 million of Gap stock. That's all we know he has. That's all we know he has. You're telling me he doesn't have a nickel past Gap stock? We haven't even talked about.
I've seen no evidence that he would spend any of this money. He's not spending the money yet.
I thought you said he doesn't have the money. You said now he's not willing to spend his money. Which one is it?
Well, I don't know. He first of all, he doesn't have the money. First of all, we don't know how much the thing is going to cost. We don't. Stop saying that. You know that's horse crap. They are stopping. And before you say something else that's factually incorrect, let me finish a thought. And I'll be
that's factually incorrect. I want to know
that we don't know what it costs.
Okay, that's okay. I agree with you that we don't know. No one knows what it's going to end up costing.
Right. And now Booney,
$1.9 billion.
Yeah. It could be a lot of things, Booney. And you know what it is? Before you start building things, not build a sandbox and rent cranes to be bulldozers to be props behind you, you have to have what the final cost of the damn thing is going to be. We don't know what that is. You have to have the money in place. Everything you've just said is if, from a guy who has shown he wouldn't even clean the bathrooms of the Oakland Coliseum. He's suddenly going to open up his purse strings, that he lives on getting free money, that he's suddenly going to open up his purse strings. But the first and foremost, before you talk about he has the money, you just said you don't know how much it's going to cost.
No,
Ergo,
no one knows on any construction project, Sully. We don't know how much it's going to cost. For
yes,
sure.
but tell me why all these construction costs, all these construction jobs are stopping in Las Vegas for people who have lots of experience in Las Vegas, but this Nepo baby coming in, he knows what he's doing, who has shown us that he has no idea how to run it.
You don't know either.
Right. I don't know and you don't know. That's a problem.
All the parts are already paid for. You ever think about that? All the bills already paid for?
Yes, I've thought about that.
We don't know. We don't know for sure.
Yes. So, yes, you agree with me. We don't know.
All we do know is what he has in funds. We do know that for sure because he has to disclose that being an officer of GAP. He does. We know
so he's going to dump his fortune into this because that's the way he's done recently.
Hang on a second. We're not about his fortune. We're talking about just GAP stock. I'm saying he's only $500 million out of $875 million.
So we don't know what it's going to cost, and he hasn't dumped that in escrow yet. Yet somehow I'm the one living.
Why would he put that? What dummy would put the money in escrow?
Here's something.
And pay interest on it. Who would do that?
Well, maybe if you're trying to get other investors with your club, you may want to show that you got your money together.
Who knows if he wants the investors or doesn't know the investors? We don't
know that
either.
Booney, you're agreeing with me. We don't know.
I tell you what we do know. I tell you what we do know. The banks approved them. The banks looked at it.
The banks looked at that, and he is with that. He is literally $1 billion short.
He is not even close to it. See, that's a lie right there. I just told you $500 million in GAP stock, $200 million Aramark. We got 600.
So he sold.
We got 600.
So he has that money all lined up, and you don't know what it will cost. And you don't know what it will cost with all the tariffs.
So right now we're at 1.4 billion that we know he has that he could get tomorrow.
Okay, great. Where is he going to get the other billion?
We haven't even talked about the earthquakes. We haven't even talked about the brothers. We haven't even talked about the family. We haven't talked about any of his other assets.
So what did he sell the earthquakes for?
Why would he keep them? I don't know. That's his business.
No. How much money did he get for the earthquakes?
He has not sold them yet. We have a project that's 3 years old. Is the money all due right now? Is the money for the stadium all due right now?
You're saying that he has the money, and everything out of your mouth is if.
I haven't said one if.
Here's what you and I have agreed, that we don't know what it will cost, and we don't know if he has the money. Those are the two things we've agreed on.
No, I have not agreed on that. I said he has the money. I said John Fischer and family, absolutely. And when this project started, I was the first to say I had my doubts. When it was just him, the day he announced he's bringing in the family, I said this is a no-brainer. It's easy. It's simple.
No-brainer.
He could build 2 stadiums if they wanted. Once he said the family, it changed. It's a no-brainer. It's math. And for some reason, you and the rest of the narrative
stop that immediately.
To look at that.
I'll leave if you're trying to make me out like I'm making stuff up. Okay.
No, I'm not saying you're making stuff up. I'm saying you don't look at the math about it.
You don't know what the math about it is. You admitted that.
I did not. I don't know what the final number is going to be.
What does it cost? What does it cost? What is the final cost of the stadium?
No one knows. We will never know until it's done. Just like if you build a wing to your house, you don't know the final cost until it's done.
Booney, you're just being loud at this point. Now, with all these other people who have experience of building in Las Vegas are stopping their projects because of the rising costs of going on in Las Vegas, why is Fischer smarter than them about building in Vegas?
Every project said, I don't know. We agree on that.
A lot of Bible knows for someone who says they got all the answers.
His project continues. His project is continuing.
Continues. Has it started?
Nothing to stop that project.
Have they started building yet?
As far as the groundbreaking is out, and there's trucks going around.
No.
Listen.
Was it different?
I'm not the guy to talk to as far as getting technical, as far as what they're building, what the construction, the grading about it. I know as much as you do about that.
Yeah, but you would think that if people are saying all these things about him and this and that they would be the first ones saying, here's where the money is, and we're starting construction right now. They built a sandbox. They dug their things in the sandbox. They rented some construction piece of equipment in the background. I actually think the Vegas stadium will be built. I do. I think it is going to be at least 5 years from now. At least. There's no way. There's a better chance they're playing in Philadelphia than in Las Vegas in 2028.
What
They're
makes
clearly
you think it's going to take 5 years?
Well, it's because I'm giving wiggle room. It's going to be easily 4. I mean, obviously, it's going to be 4. I mean, that there's not a rational human being who thinks this is going to be ready by 2028.
I think it's going to be
because they have. All right, you know, mark the time and date. I'll bet you $100 right now. I'll bet you $100 right now.
$100.
Yep, if they're there. And let me make another thing very clear, because you pull that you people crap all the time. Here, let me make one thing very clear. I've said this on the show. I want the A's to succeed.
I believe that.
I want the A's to succeed, and if they've chosen Las Vegas, I want them to succeed in Las Vegas. Now, I think Las Vegas is a horrible baseball market. Horrible. I think there are other markets. If we agree that the ship has sailed in Oakland, and I do agree on that, they're never going to put a second team in the Bay Area. With that in mind, there are other markets out there that are a hell of a lot better and make a hell of a lot more sense than banking on tourism in a desert in the summer with a minuscule, microscopic, media market and transplanted residents. That being said, if this stadium is built with John Fischer as the owner, I want this stadium to be the toast of baseball. I want it to be the thing, to be the new Camden Yards. And by that, I mean the stadium. When Camden Yards was built, people came from far and wide because the Orioles sucked. And yet they went to see the stadium. I want this. I love the design of the stadium. I think it's fantastic. I think it's spectacular. I want that stadium built. I want that stadium to be filled. I want a new A's dynasty, whether they stay in Sacramento, whether they go to Portland, Nashville, Las Vegas, Montreal, or back to Philly, wherever they land. I want them to be a massive success. I have seen nothing from John Fischer that makes me think that he is the person to shepherd this team to that. If you don't believe me, they are currently sitting in a minor league park because he didn't get enough free money. You can't look anyone in the eye and say that this situation in Vegas and in Sacramento is anything short of a disaster. They had a Friday night in July in the first year they were there, and they couldn't draw 8,000 people. And if you're a Sacramento fan, why would you show up? Because they're not even playing for you. They're not. They're saying we're out of here before you know it. You'd rather go to a River Cats game. It's cheaper, and they at least represent the city. I want the A's to succeed. This is not me being like, I want this team to do. No. I want every team to succeed. I want all 30 teams to be a success. And I think baseball can expand to 32. And if they expand to 32, and I think they should put it, I think the South needs 2 more teams. I think you could put a team in Nashville. I think you could put a team in Charlotte. I think you could put a team in Portland, which I thought was a hell of a lot better market than Las Vegas. But I digress. I think it will probably be, I think the 2 expansion markets, unless the White Sox move, and I hope they don't. I don't want any franchise to move. I think the 2 expansion teams, one will be Salt Lake City, which they have investor groups and everything like that they want to build. And they'd be a natural rival to the Rockies. And the other is Nashville, which is the most obvious market out there. I think Nashville would be a smashing success for a baseball team. And I thought the A's, if they had to move, they probably should have moved to Nashville. But I digress. If for whatever reason, and I've never understood why they've chosen Las Vegas, I want them to be a success. But trust has to be earned. And the man hasn't earned it yet. And all of your defense of him includes if. And why does this guy get the benefit of the doubt? Did I miss when he earned the benefit of the doubt?
First of all, I agree with you on the fiasco in Sacramento. It has been a fiasco in Sacramento. Now, my criticism as far as those that take a stance against Fischer, against the A's, I can care less really about Fischer, against the A's is the other side. You guys don't talk about the person who led the negotiations for the city of Oakland. You don't talk about how they wanted the name Athletics to stay with the city. You don't talk about the $60 million that they wanted to squat at the Coliseum for 3 years. You don't talk about the first mayor in the history of Oakland to be recalled, or the 8 counts that she's been federally indicted. That is part of the story. You don't talk about Senate Bill 293 that was put in place for money for Howard Turnbull. There's nothing you guys leave out so much stuff in your narrative. And I don't mean you guys. What I am trying to get at is, and as far as if, I have not if at all. No, not if. I have told you exactly where his funds are coming from. Is that if that's the big concern? He has his funds, absolutely. Okay. His funds are there. That's a done deal as far as money. Okay. Construction's on time. Now, maybe construction takes 3-4 years or whatever it may be. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. Hang on a second.
No, construction's on time.
It takes
construction's on time.
As far as what we've heard. Now,
from who?
As far as from the Las Vegas Convention Center Authority, okay? As far as everything in Vegas that has been reporting on it, that doesn't really care for Fischer one way or another, okay? That's what we have heard. Everything is on time. Now, let's say it's taken 4 years. Let's say, to your point, maybe it's 2030. Who knows, right? It's not because he doesn't have the money. So he didn't have the money when he was trying in Oakland. He was trying to stay in Oakland. You said, why doesn't the billionaire just stay in Oakland? He has the money. He can build it. Oakland didn't have the money. They didn't have the bonds. Okay? That was all fake. It was floated. The money was floated.
I'm holding more money right now than should be spent of taxpayer money on a stadium.
Another thing, you ignore the tax district that's being paid as far as the stadium and how it will be funded. Not one taxpayer that will not be in the tax financing district will pay for the stadium. You know that, Sully. You know
why is it being spent on a stadium? Why isn't it being spent on things that you can actually? Why is it for someone, your buddy Fischer, who has all this money that you people keep saying has all this money? Why does he need that taxpayer money?
Why is other cities supplying that?
I got not the question I just asked you. That's not the question I just asked you.
What was the question?
You're going to die. Thank you. This person who you claims has all this money.
He has all that money. It's been verified by the bank. So yes, he has that money.
Sure, great. Cool. Why does he need the public money? Why does he need the public money then?
Because they gave it to him. He wouldn't go to Vegas if it wasn't the public money. He's being a good businessman.
Because he likes free money. He loves the free money.
You don't?
I'm not a billionaire.
Okay, see, there it is. It has everything to do with him being a billionaire, nothing else, right? He is trying to establish money for his business. That business is going to bring money to the city. The city is supposed to be.
Oh my God. I'm very tempted to hit. Just look at Buddy. Okay. I'm trying not to get us an explicit rating. He's doing a business that'll get money to the city. Dude, stop. Stop. That is the biggest pile of horse crap you could have said. What is going on here? You're living in this. Okay, never mind. I liked when the A's reacquired Ricky Henderson for Eric Plunk and Louis Polonia and Greg Cataray. Yeah, that was a great deal.
Yeah, that was a real good deal. Louis Polonia
was a really good deal.
Yeah.
Are you on the Fischer payroll right now?
You guys leave a lot of stuff out of your narrative. You guys all do. What you guys have said has been false. It has been flagrant, and it has been lies. That's all I'll get at right now. It has been so bad.
All right.
The truth hurts, but it matters, and I'm done letting the loudest voice be the least honest. I've sat through years of noise. I've listened to voices like Sully and countless others from national and local media for so long, yelling into microphones, pounding on tables, slinging around phrases like worst owner in sports history and acting like volume and repetition are the same thing as truth. For a long time, I took their word at face value. I questioned the relocation. I doubted Vegas. I bought into the narrative that this was a con job from John Fischer, that this stadium was never going to happen, that this was all smoke and mirrors built to cash in on some phantom version of Major League Baseball tourism in the desert. But here's the difference between me and them. I changed my mind when the facts changed. That's right. I changed my stance. And not because of spin, not because of PR, but because the Fischer family and actual financial institutions, Goldman Sachs and US Bank, put real money and real liability on the line. This wasn't me speculating. This wasn't a whisper campaign. This was verified funding, formal letters of commitment, legally binding lease agreements, and regulated public oversight. This wasn't hope and hype. This was billions in private capital, construction timetables signed off by developers, and the state of Nevada putting this into law. When reality shows up with receipts, you adjust, you evolve. You don't bury your head in a comfortable lie. Now, do I know exactly how Fischer is paying for it? What account he will tap into, what financial lever he will pull, or what the final stadium tab will be down to the last bolt? No, I don't. Just like I don't know whether I'm paying for lunch with cash, debit, or a credit card, or whether that lunch is going to be $12.95 or $17.20 after tip. But what I do know is I have the money and I'm eating. And right now, the Fischer family has the money and they are building. Verified, bank-backed, transparent. You can scoff at it all you want, but you don't get to ignore hard financial proof just because it doesn't fit your outrage narrative. Let's be clear. Before the Fischer family got involved, I didn't believe John Fischer could pull this off. He had not earned that confidence. But when the family stepped in, when serious generational wealth backed this plan, this went from a long shot to a slam dunk. I shifted because the facts changed. I didn't betray the fans. I didn't sell out. I just refused to lie to myself to stay comfortable in the anger. Not a guess, not an opinion, not a wish, reality. And for that, I've been scoffed at. I've been told I'm shilling for Fischer. I've had people who claim to be informed baseball minds accuse me for working for a billionaire owner simply because I'm willing to see the situation as it is, not as a simplistic cartoon with a villain twirling his mustache on top of the Tropicana rubble. Let me be absolutely clear. When I first started doing Locked On A's, I immediately doubted the Vegas move. I said it plainly. Fischer couldn't pull it off alone. I called out the lack of transparency. I questioned the site. Where was the financing? I doubted he would spend a dime. I even said on the record that if this was just Fischer trying to muscle out of Oakland to chase subsidy dollars in a fantasy desert stadium, it wouldn't work. But guess what? The facts changed. And unlike some people, I didn't stick to a stale opinion just to stay on brand. I reevaluated. I dug in. I researched. I talked to the people involved. I read the damn documents. I watched as Nevada passed SB 1 and SB 509. I studied SB 293 Skinner and the failure to activate those tools in Oakland. I watched as Goldman Sachs and US Bank signed off. I read the Stadium Authority reports. I followed the money. I didn't rely on recycled emotional talking points or Twitter rumors. I got real. And here's the real truth. The Vegas deal is real. The stadium is real. The money is real. And the narrative that John Fischer is still bluffing with monopoly money is lazy nonsense. This doesn't mean I absolve John Fischer. Let's not pretend he's earned any benefit of the doubt from A's fans. He let a proud championship-rich franchise rot in a publicly condemned stadium. He gutted rosters. He broke hearts. He invited the anger, and frankly, he earned it. And when things hit rock bottom, he pulled the pin and started the relocation process. But let's also stop pretending the city of Oakland was some flawless, benevolent victim here. Let's stop pretending Sully and everyone else's version of this story is honest when it so clearly omits everything that doesn't fit the narrative. No mention of Mayor Tao being federally indicted on 8 counts. No mention that she was the first mayor in Oakland's history to be recalled by voters. No mention of the city's late-breaking and frankly laughable ask that they keep the name Athletics in exchange for a lease extension, as if the team name is a souvenir they are owed in the divorce. You want to talk about Fischer getting free money? Fine. Let's also talk about Oakland's total failure to get shovels in the ground after more than 2 decades of trying. Let's talk about the fact that the A's spent 6 years negotiating the Howard Terminal deal, only for it to collapse without a finalized term sheet. Let's talk about the $60 million lease extension fee the city demanded for the right to play in a condemned stadium for 3 more lame duck seasons. Let's talk about how the team was asked to give up 50% of its Coliseum land ownership just to stay in the East Bay temporarily. They never tell you that part. They never admit that Fischer, for all his faults, walked away from a city that couldn't and wouldn't provide a clean, executable stadium deal. Not because of incompetence alone, but because of political dysfunction at the highest level. And now we know just how deep that dysfunction ran. The city's lead negotiator is now facing potential federal prison time. And you want to accuse me of being on Fischer's payroll because I acknowledge that? That's not just dishonest, it's pathetic. It's exactly the kind of emotional dishonesty that poisoned this conversation from the beginning. You see, the people who have been opposed to this have spent years cultivating a brand. They paint Fischer as a villain. And again, no tears shed here, but they also insist on ignoring every inconvenient truth that makes their narrative less neat. They leave out how badly Oakland botched every stadium proposal since the Coliseum in '66. They ignore how ownership groups before Fischer, yes, including Wolf, tried and failed too. They pretend this was a unilateral decision made on a whim, when in fact, it was the result of a failed public-private negotiation that finally hit a wall. The Vegas deal, it didn't just materialize overnight. It went through a state legislature, a stadium authority. It required bond lawyers, real estate specialists, infrastructure plans, and actual financial commitments, not just PR fluff. Fischer and his family committed over $1 billion in equity. Banks reviewed his holdings, including Gap stock, investment portfolios, and future revenue, and confirmed he had more than enough liquidity to meet the obligation. They didn't do that because they like baseball. They did it because this deal is legitimate. So here's where I stand. I didn't want the A's to leave. I still feel like my chest caves in when I look at what we lost in the East Bay. But I also refuse to pretend that I'd rather have nothing than something. I refuse to pretend that Oakland was one stadium deal away from saving the team when that stadium deal never really existed in a form where you can execute. I refuse to pretend that Sully and people like him are fighting for justice when they are really just fighting to feel morally superior. I've stood in both worlds. I've hated this move. I've fought to understand it. And I've accepted it. I have taken scrutiny from both sides. But here is what you will never get from me. Spin. I'm not here to win Twitter arguments or rack up YouTube views with performative outrage. I'm here to tell the full story, even when it's inconvenient. Because in the end, history won't remember who yelled the loudest. It will remember who was right. Now, I do want to take a minute and apologize. I want to apologize to absolutely nobody. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts.